How would you respond to a comment received that greater exposure to your sports through the digital media will effectively result in greater interest in the sport, increased followers and larger audiences, and perhaps even increased membership?
I think there is that trade-off, but again, so much of our revenue that goes back to, as we've mentioned here, we're certainly not heavily government funded, so much of our revenue that we generate goes back to our court rebate scheme, for example, where we provide $7 million of our own money to develop community-based sports, courts for tennis. So as we start to lose that, we actually lose the real capacity to do something. While it's great to say we've got a lot more people watching, we need that volume of income coming in to actually put facilities down there on the grassroots areas so we can play tennis.
Look, Walter again.
One of the key phrases in that quote that you read out was larger audiences, and obviously that's all our objective, but it's the fragmentation of those audiences that's important. I mean, the answer isn't simple, but certainly the issue is very simple for us. From football's perspective, very clearly it's a matter of not just maintaining but increasing our media revenue. We're in probably a different position to my colleagues at the table here in terms of our evolution. Our media rights don't represent anything near 70 to 80%, and therefore, we have a larger proportion of government funding at the moment. That is not something we perceive, and I'm sure the government don't perceive as a long-term aspect of our sustainability. So it is critical to our sport and fragmentation of audience is critical to those to whom we are seeking to sell our rights.
Sporting organisations clearly haven't figured out how to monetise the internet space. They've given it a go with Telstra. I don't know how that's working out for them.
What happens when a copying mechanism is invented? And you can take the printing press or you can take BitTorrent. It shapes people's habits. It gives people completely new ideas how they could work together, how they could share, what they could relate to, what their lives could be.
There's no way that an absolutist political system can totally suppress the spread of information. New media adapt themselves to these circumstances, and often they can become even more effective because of the repression.
Continuing our coverage of the Gippsland Football League, Mafra defeated Traralgon at home 15-11-101 to 6-13-49.
Of course, this area of the world has produced some magnificent footballers over the years. We sent Phil Cleary to the Brunswick Street Oval this week to catch up with one of the very best.
Started back in the Latrobe Valley Football League. I played half a game in the seniors in 1969 before coming down to Footscray. And before that I played a couple of years in the thirds competition, playing with the Traralgon Colts. When there was two divisions, there was an East Division and a West Division. We played in the East Division. We won the competition in 67 and 68, and eventually the East used to play the West. The winners of both, the premiers of both divisions would play off, and we won that as well. So, I mean, we had a terrific rivalry with Morwell and the sides all around that area in those days.
So what made you join the senior footy club?
Just want to be with me mates.
Oh yeah.
Up with my age group.
As a kid in the 60s, you used to jump on the bus and go down to watch Traralgon take on the arch enemy Morwell. What was that like?
My father didn't drive, he didn't have a car, so we'd hop on the bus, and quite a few supporters would hop on the bus from Traralgon, and we'd go to Morwell, Moe, Bensdale, Warrigal, Trafalgar, all over the area in those days. And I suppose you may have a different perception as a kid, but it seemed bigger than big in those days, because the AFL, or the VFL as it was then, seemed a million miles away without TV, and you'd only get a little bit of replay and so forth. So the big football competition was the VFL, the Latrobe Valley Football League.
Hi. You mentioned the most memorable game you've seen is the 05 Grand Final. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I was saying, at the ground, Mafford was undefeated for about 2.5 years, and it was the day when Traralgon defeated them and waked up who was the champions.
Today we're seeing some of the greatest cricketers in the world on display, but sometimes we forget that these great cricketers were once like the kids here today, playing their weekend and backyard cricket. That's why today I'm delighted on behalf of the Australian Government to announce $11 million a year for national sporting organisations in youth sport participation funding. Cricket is such a great game. It's Australia's national sport, and for the Australian Government to be able to put money into helping more young people play cricket, it's just a fantastic result for us, and we're very happy. But what today's funding is going to mean is we want to get young kids away from their computer screens, away from the TV, off the couch, outside playing sports like cricket. That's what we're about, that's what this government's about, that's what the Prime Minister's trying to achieve, and we're very proud that we can work closely with Cricket Australia, and that funding's coming.
I guess I want to make 3 points at the outset. The first, I think, is certainly now well known, and we're similar to all of our peers of before, that we're a not-for-profit entity, and all the surpluses go back either to our clubs, to community programs, facilities, and other programs. And what I'll do is I'll table with the inquiry a list of
listed as number 16, so a little bit of tactics there. This is Jack O'Shea, the brilliant Ireland captain, putting them forward. O'Shea has first shot at goal. It's over. It looks like for 3 points.
Winning 50 metres of goal. Under 3 minutes left. And Tony Shaw, look at those statistics. A magnificent leader all day. The short passes on. The centre half forward.
next generation strategy papers which essentially outline where all of our funds go and the initiatives being undertaken over a 5-year period. I guess the second point I'd make is that the heart of those monies and the heart of our business is intellectual property and the protection of that, and that's not only the vision and the audio and the images, but also our trademarks and our designs, and that it really is the business we're in, protecting our copyright and protecting our intellectual property. The third thing I'd say is that we absolutely support the freedom of the press and the role of the media in promoting, reporting in our game. And I think I talked earlier, to that end, we have around 750 accredited media. We've got over 600 media who actually support those accredited media in terms of backup crews and others. This is not this is not about freedom of the press or the role of the press. I guess moreover, it's not about the reporting of news exceptions in the Copyright Act.
Local sports definitely an important part of society. It's got various socio-economic factors.
And big crowds and passionate, no doubt.
Yeah. The cars would be packed, you know, when they could drive up to the boundary line, and they'd be tooting the horns when a goal was kicked and so forth. And it was just a big part of life in those days in the town.
Video artists, such as myself, go to games in our local area to record our own material, either as an alternate to pirating national games, or because we generally believe in local content. Some leagues produce videos either themselves or through official videographers. some of these videos, when put together with commentary from local radio stations, distributed on DVD or put in a shorter form on the internet.
Supporters wait now in silence as he lines up the goal.
Money is not the point with culture or media. Making something is the point with media, and I don't think that people will stop making music, stop making movies, stop taking cool photographs, whatever.
What do you want me to say?
Okay, first question. Do you watch much local sport?